Hello. This year will be my third year doing Nanowrimo. The first two, I unfortunately did not make it all the way to the end, but I've been reflecting a little bit on why that may or may not be, and the things I've gained from that experience, and I wanted to share them with you. In the first 2 years that I participated, I was very busy. Because of that, I was doing a lot of writing on buses, on trains, during commutes, in between classes, and of course when you have a certain word count you have to hit each day, that writing time is important, but I wasn't doing something I'm gonna call writing with intention, or creating with intention. I wasn't taking time out of my day, just a little bit, maybe in the evening, to think about, okay, what's a specific period of time I'm gonna sit down tomorrow and I'm just gonna write. There won't be any people around me, no distractions, nothing going on TV, I'll find a quiet place. I'm just gonna focus on words. That's something I'm starting to do this year, since I also found out very recently, according to our last video, that morning time is very productive for me. On days that I don't have any free time in the afternoon to write, I will get up an hour or two early and just take that time. That way I know going into each day, okay, no matter what, I have this allotted space to write and make progress. And it keeps me from panicking and relying on those little bursts in between other things I have to do. While I've been better about planning day to day this year, I had virtually no plan at all going into Nanowrimo. I only decided I was gonna do it about a day before. That is another difference from what I did the previous 2 years. Of course, for me, as somebody who is not a very serious writer, that's no big deal. For other folks, it makes perfect sense that you might want to take prep days or weeks or months. That might be a really key part to your process, and that's okay. But for me, I found that taking that prep time was putting a lot of stress on the initial idea I was going to write about. I think a lot of artists universally have one of two or both of these very common problems. One being that you always jump from idea to idea and one doesn't stick for very long or stay interesting to you for very long. And two, there's this underlying fear that I think exists between all artists that one day you will run out of good ideas. Because those two instincts or feelings were affecting me so much the first year, I was spending way too much of my brain energy prepping before November even started. And if a better idea came along, I'd be too scared to switch it, or I'd be very hesitant to work with ideas that I thought were too precious to touch or that I wasn't ready yet. You know, I'll do that in a later year when I'm a better writer. Me personally, I'm finding a lot more success now just winging it and going. I also really like fantasy and play a lot of D&D, and that can be very easy to improvise. I'm learning to lean into the messiness of a rough draft. I'm not allowing this concept of a perfect idea to tarnish the process of just putting stuff on paper. I'm accepting that this is indeed a rough draft, and a very fast rough draft. It doesn't have to be good, and if I spend a day writing utter garbage, that's fine. The point is I finished it. And I think that's something I can carry over to a lot of different art. I think as a filmmaker, this is teaching me to get messy with the pre-production process, with writing, planning, and outlining, to not be afraid to throw ridiculous ideas in and see how they fit. When you try things you really aren't sure are gonna work, that's often when you're gonna find some really interesting surprises. There's always this layer of, I think, what comes naturally for us to create or say or capture, and it's underneath that layer when you've worked through all that stuff and you've run out of things completely and you don't know what to do, that there are these little nuggets and gems of really unique ideas. A rough draft is the perfect place to dig down and harvest them, even if you get a lot of dirt and crap along with them. It is okay to let go of a project. Now, in my opinion, there are healthy reasons and there are lazy reasons to do this. A lazy reason to let go of a project, in my opinion, is because you're bored, or it's gotten too hard, or you're not sure what to do next and you feel stuck. But sometimes a project can take over a little bit too much of the rest of your life. The first 2 years I did Nanowrimo, I was very busy and I had a lot of other things going on in my life that also needed my attention. It turned out to be a lot better for me as a person to just put the book down, put it aside, and commit to other things. Whether that's people, whether that's work, whether that's school, whether that's other artistic projects. If you're sitting with something for too long and it is not going anywhere and it's just not working out, often that layer can hide a lot of other little ideas that you haven't had the time or the energy to touch yet. It's a hard decision, one that's really not easy to make, but sometimes it's healthy. Which is why tip number 5, which is a little cliche, is that we learn more from our failures than we do our successes. Human beings are very adaptable to our surroundings and also to our own mistakes. Anybody who's had that day where you said, okay, I'm gonna go out to the bar with my friends and then I'll come back and finish writing before I go to bed, and then absolutely did not get any writing done before you go to bed, that was probably one of the last times you made that mistake, because you learned. I remember the very first time I forgot to hit record on a mixer for an interview, and I also know that is the last interview where I have not double and triple checked to make sure everything was recording before I started. Our mistakes ingrain themselves in our brain and we move forward. But I also think reaching your creative rock bottom, reaching an absolute rut where you are drained of energy, drained of ideas, or you feel like you just can't move forward, those are the moments where you learn a lot about yourself as a creative individual. I think oftentimes you learn, oh, okay, I might not have made it all the way, but I'm capable of more than I thought I was. In a medium like writing or really any kind of art that loves to just pull on your self-confidence, have an experience that tells you, oh, I didn't get what I was expecting to, or I didn't come out with a finished product, but I learned something and I gained something and I pushed through that process, did better than I thought I would, and I'm okay. That's a really valuable experience to have. So that is what I learned from my first 2 years of failing Nanowrimo. However, I'm on track right now. It is, what day is it? It's November 19th. I'm doing pretty good, so fingers crossed it'll work out this time. And if it doesn't, we know that's okay. Thank you for watching. My name's Connor O'Keefe. I make videos once a week about creativity stuff and sometimes gender and a lot of documentaries. If you like this, you should consider hitting the like button and letting me know, or maybe subscribing. That would be super cool. I'd love to see you around. Okay, bye.